going to do a little review on the table saw here. Few things that I want to talk about on its design, issues that I have with it, what we're probably going to do with it in the future. And before I get into that, I'm going to show you a little clip I had already filmed on cleaning this up and what was on the inside. So watch that and we'll be right back. Okay, also been working on the table saw, this old Valuecraft table saw, 10-inch, 2 horsepower motor. It's a DC motor, or no, it's not a DC motor, it's an AC brush motor. This basic one is still being manufactured today. Low-end saws, portable saws. I think Ryobi actually manufactures almost identical the same thing. Switch, everything is basically the same on the front. Top's a little different. This is all aluminum casting. I've taken it completely apart. I'm just kind of setting up and cleaning the blade. That's in better shape than when it was on it. Has a couple of carbide tips missing, but basically tore everything completely apart. All the inner workings come out, tore the motor apart, cleaned it up. It's nice and clean in there now. Got to finish up the wiring. I'm going to put the old switch back on temporarily, but I'm going to put a different type of switch system on. Probably something maybe even with an emergency stop. And when we get to that point, then we'll go through setting it up and taking some cuts with it. Okay, I've got this set up to about 45 degrees on the table angle. Now, there's a set of plastic gear teeth that run along here that this handle is supposed to engage into and then turn, but I've got like 5 of them missing on here. So that really is pretty much useless to me. This is the only mechanism here that actually locks the table saw into place, whether it's in vertical or in lower position, which means you got to kind of hold up onto this and tighten this down to set your zero plane again. Now, there's only one screw here in the top that allows you to adjust your squareness this way, and I'll show that to you here. Okay, right in here is a screw that bottoms out on this assembly that's inside here. And that adjusts up and down against the a bolt on the inside so that you can adjust your square. Now, the only thing that's bad about that is there's no way to lock it. So you pretty much want to always check your square before you go ahead and start cutting on the saw again. So that's not a good thing. So let's just get this locked back into place. The other thing is there's really no way to make a zero clearance insert for this, because there's really just these 2 tangs that stick out that this sheet metal base goes onto as a guard. I do not have any safety equipment for the top of this either, so that's always going to have to be a caution. The other thing too is the way this thing is designed is there's a shaft that runs along the bottom, and then there's just U-clips that go in here, here, and here that hold that whole assembly on. That's where it pivots from, and there's no real way to adjust it side to side to square it up with the miter slots. So that's a negative. Then again, the miter gauge that came with it isn't the greatest either. It's pretty sloppy, so it's basically just a metal piece that goes in here. So I might actually make another one, or long term what I'm thinking about doing is actually eliminating this existing top, because this existing top actually has a slight bow to it. The other thing, of course, that's terrible is the fence mechanism, which is really, really chintzy. Now, in order to fix this so I could even use it, I had to go out and get another piece of all thread. Basically, there's an all thread that runs through here. Now, I don't know if it originally come that way or if it was modified that way because the original broke, but this really should have some kind of hardened steel rod that you're using. And basically all the threads in different spots got wore out because all you do to tighten this is undo this knob. So this here has some slight adjustments so you can kind of adjust it for squareness to the blade, which is kind of crappy. It's all beat up. This mechanism locks the back. This is kind of just a catch. So there's two nuts back here. I put a lock washer on there too to hold that assembly together. And then I ran the all thread out long enough. And then there's a square nut. One of these is a square nut, and that square nut sits down inside this handle. So what I did was I left a lot of thread here. So if these threads start stripping again, I can kind of just shift that whole all thread down until I run out of thread again. And again, this just clamps on these two surfaces along with the back. So to get this square is a real pain in the butt, and then you really got to crank on it to lock it down. So eventually, you know, this whole system here I think is going to have to go. The motor's still good, cuts are real nice. And we'll show you a cut here in just a second, but I'm thinking long term we're going to build a cabinet for this assembly and actually just machine a new top. I don't know if we'll be using some kind of laminate material or maybe a piece of aluminum, maybe even a piece of steel, but more than likely I'm going to change something and we'll use the CNC router to actually then machine the slot so that we can put this whole motor assembly in there. Maybe even put a drive mechanism that's better to set the angle. So that's the goals for the table saw. So we'll set up here, take a cut, and you can see how loud this baby is. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a miter and cut a little sliver off this piece of plywood, and then I set the rip fence here and we'll rip a little piece off here. Again, it's just not very square, but we'll show it in action. Okay, well, it does make a very nice cut. It's not that bad at all. Again, definitely room for improvement on this table saw. Really don't want to go out and buy a different one, at least not right away. And again, I don't want anything really large. If I build something for this, I mean, I'll have probably some fold-out extensions and an extension on the back side so I can cut bigger pieces with. Maybe set up a Biesemayer type of fence for it, and kind of utilize all the innards that are still good. Motor works great, has plenty of power, cuts through pretty nice, runs fairly smoothly. It's a little noisy, but it is what it is. And when we get to that point, which will be after we do the base and get the CRP 4848 router set up and running, then we'll work on designing a table saw assembly for this. So if you want to stay tuned for those in the future, please subscribe. If you have any suggestions or comments or thoughts or things that you'd like to see while we're going through some of the stuff, please leave a comment and I'll get back to you. Next thing on the list, of course, we got the bandsaw running, and what I'm currently working on right now is the drill press. So we'll do a quick review on that in another video, just getting things set up, cleaned up, and I'll show you what I'm doing to that. And again, thanks for watching, everyone.